Welcome to Where Is My Mind, a podcast where we discuss fascinating films while being depressed about our youth and innocence. I'm a spicy baby bottle pop, Parker.
And I'm a jagged little pill, Ryan. Our Pride Month celebration continues with the Basque gay
Into
communist
July.
director, Eloy de la Iglesia.
Yes. Who you basically introduced me to the research for this episode.
Yeah. And Severin introduced all of us because there was probably a few hundred cool people that were familiar with his films before Severin put out their Quinqui collection, spelled Quinqui. So we're going to be talking about Quinqui, although every single time we do say it, it's going to sound, possibly suspect. And
please note there will not be Depeche Mode playing in the background of this episode.
There's going to be a lot of that.
And that we are fully clothed.
Correct. So the movie we're talking about today is El Pico from 1983, also sometimes referred to as Overdose, and it stars Jose Luis Manzano as Paco and Javier Garcia as Urco. El Pico was a huge hit for Iglesia in general, and though there was a few Quinqui films which were made previous to him, for the most part, this one really helped to launch the genre. The genre itself is about juvenile delinquency in the Spanish post-Franco regime time period. It deals a lot with crippling poverty for young folks and a genuine lack of educational opportunities. So during the transition, this was a lot of kids and teens that were 12 to 16 in general that were often wrapped up into criminal activity and just basic survival during the transition out of the Franco regime. A lot of these actors portray at times kind of folk heroes from the 50s and 60s. Iglesia cast a mixture of trained and untrained actors. So that's something that you'll see within German cinema as well. It gave these characters a degree of empathy and I guess an aspect that when the audience is reviewing them, you can sometimes tell the folks that are really obviously not trained in formal acting, but that moment of authenticity for a lot of their roles gives these films really something special. A lot of the behavior is pretty abhorrent toward other people. So these are drug-fueled misdeeds that are going on at times. So the films themselves are pretty gritty. Even with all of that, with El Pico, it's unique to some extent because it does have this strangely amazing happy ending that the other films don't always have, or what they mean by that.
Mixed outcomes would be the best way to say it.
Big time.
El Pico catches you off guard, though, at pretty much every chance it can, though, to be fair.
Yeah, his kind of style is really fast and intense. The films move quick, and it's certainly stuff that I've not ever seen before in the style that he goes for. Mm-hmm. The other director is Jose Antonio de la Loma, and he did Street Warriors 1 and 2, and those were the kind of the foundational films also for the youth underclass in Spain. And so Loma was different from Iglesia in that I think his focus is a lot more on the action that the films contain, as well as street and driving sequences. So they come across as a little bit more mainstream in that, whereas Iglesia, he goes all over the place with complex relationships, fatalistic viewpoints at times. So they're just always on the kind of edge of disaster and fall apart. So yeah.
Iglesia definitely focuses on the people more than the action. Mm-hmm. Both of the El Pico films felt like Requiem for a Dream mixed with a telenovela at times. All the drama going on.
Yeah, the interpersonal stuff that he has his characters tackle is so harrowing and different. In El Pico, you have a character like Michael, who's gay and is sort of trying to somewhat date the main character Paco, and
He's
Paco is
interested.
basically
He's
just
definitely
using kind of everybody, including his own family at times. So he's really not a good person.
he's not a favorable guy.
No.
He's not a
Uh-uh.
good guy.
No. So the musical components of these films are amazing. That's one thing that hits right away with any of the Quinqui genre films. They use the rumba Vallecana and rumba Teleguera, and particularly it has this high energy, high impact. Sometimes it reminds me of certain disco type songs. I mean, these are like super high energy pop tunes.
Yeah. Well, this is early 80s. So it's like, yes, maybe we've aged out of it, but like it feels very close to it at times.
Yeah, it's really there's like a freshness to the music that having just not experienced much of it before, you can tell that there's influences from more classical and traditional music
Yes,
regionally and so
definitely.
forth. But then it has like a production quality that you'd almost put in with like the Italian disco scene of the early late 70s, early 80s, and so on.
I You're gonna have
Oh,
to
I
talk to me
know.
about that after we get done recording this.
It's a thing.
I'm
It's
like, I mean, I know Italy had everything, but I ain't
Yeah,
heard of that one.
second wave. It's often Italo or Italo disco is what we usually refer to it as, and it's the post
Hmm.
'70s disco scene that gets really close into more electronic music in general, and it's
Okay.
amazing stuff. It's really a lot of fun. We might even post like a Spotify link or whatever else. We did one for this episode
We
specifically.
did. Yeah, we did. You
Uh,
made a playlist, and I was like, all right, I'll post about it.
Spotify's a gold mine. So some of the bands were Los Changuitos, Tony El Gitano, Rumba Tres, and Los Chicos. And it's all
Yeah.
like I described it as just infectious pulse music.
Straight
It
bangers.
it
Straight
kicks
bangers.
ass. I'm just like
It's
I don't know what because I'm not adept in enough Spanish to understand most of what's being lyrically
uh
discussed. However,
I'm not either. I know some, but like not enough to hold a
less is
conversation.
more sometimes, and in this context I don't want to know what the lyrics are. That's a joy of music in foreign languages is you can just
Aren't we both Rammstein
well,
fans?
that's true.
We can't say
Sometimes
that.
sometimes
What do you I I really want to go and like shake you right now.
it's like learning formal
You
music.
can't hit me with the you can't hit me with the less is more and then have me watch this. And like some of the other stuff that we'll talk about or we're probably going to talk about.
Well, full disclosure, I thought Navajeros was El Pico because I'd watched Navajeros a few years ago and absolutely loved that film, and then quickly realized, oh, that's completely not the right film that I was initially.
Is that the film you thought we were going to talk about
It
for this
absolutely
episode?
was. It's a
I hate you.
masterpiece. It does
Oh my
have live
god.
birth at the end of the film, and that's
It
not a
does.
masterpiece moment.
No,
It's
it's not.
very somewhat challenging to say the least.
I've seen my Nova documentaries where they show that, and all I will say is the ending of El Pico 2 is more graphic than that, and it totally jump scares you. Uncalled. I guess it's called for in like the context of the film. What the
Yeah,
fuck,
El
man?
Pico 2, I think
That's someone's baby.
it's an amazing film. It kind of has a character, an actor named El Piri, and he reminds me of like young Sean Penn in prison films in the early '80s. Like
Yeah.
he's got this hair style that is it's fun.
Yeah, I think on first watch, like I think on my first watch of El Pico, I was like kind of taken aback. It's very real in how it depicts, drug addiction and how it unites pretty much everyone, for or against it, mostly against it, while also tearing those closest to you very apart, very apart, very apart. Hmm. So I think like a day or two after I watched Navajeros, and I liked it a bit more, but it's also like a bit more fun.
It is. There's just like there's a party
Even with
element
like a
to it
very
that they're
yeah, even though there's like a similar tone, and it's still got like all the depressing stuff, all the growing pains, for lack of a better term. Some very racy undertones between, the teenage lead. Or like I say teenage, he's probably like what? Manzano's probably like what? Very late teens,
yeah,
early
yeah.
20s. Like he's an adult. But it's like his character's like a 16, 17-year-old, and like he's living and sleeping with like a middle-aged prostitute, that sort of thing. It's kind of like, oh,
Well, and allegedly, I
that's
mean, I don't know how confirmed any of it is, but it was something that Iglesia himself was personally involved with Manzano as well, and that whole
yeah, I've
debacle
heard that as
of heroin
well.
use,
But
and then Iglesia, of course,
they
started
started
together.
with like a relationship. Yeah, yeah, both him and the actor's life just not great.
No, it's very very strange how it kind of merged together in their professional life into from the art that they made. Most of the actors in these films died from heroin use, overdoses, suicide. I mean,
Yeah,
most just didn't survive. There's some that did and have done interviews and so forth, but pretty tragic end for most of the people that were in the Quinqui films themselves. So it's quite sad that most never saw 30 years of age or much more than that from other health issues. I equated this kind of to the
yeah,
living fast and leaving a good looking corpse behind.
yes,
Cinematically
definitely,
is not
definitely.
the happiest sort of thing, but also
No, it happens multiple
yeah,
times.
throughout film it's there's certainly a high degree of tragedy with actors and so forth after their masterpieces have been set forth. So, Confessions
Excuses.
of a Congressman, that's the one that personally goes really into troubling
I
territory quick, and everybody
Oh,
loves it.
I love that movie, but it's so problematic. Just
Yeah, because you're
oh.
starting with a political figure that's wrapped up in scandal with a minor is
Yeah. And again, the actor playing this like minor slash like I think he has to be like a male
yeah,
hustler. The actor's an adult, which like makes it slightly better, but that he's still sleeping with this middle-aged congressman. And like, it's like he's having an affair with this kid outside of like his wife, and then his wife gets involved. It's really gross. But then the problem with it, the thing I noticed is like it has like this erotic twinge to it. Like he's really good at shooting that, like and like creating that kind of atmosphere. The only problem is the content's like, what
yeah.
the
I
fuck?
mean,
You have to get out of it. And you're just like,
when he
oh,
did Pals, or Caligas is the other kind of title for it,
I did not,
and that's really just
I
like
did not watch that.
simple, straight ahead. There's not uh, age discrepancy problematic stuff in it particularly, so it's just a much more kind of simple melodrama story, which for
Why? Oh,
Iglesia you're like,
the one thing I
ah,
watched.
well, that didn't, it's not a phoned in thing or anything like that, but it's just more kind of like simple straight laced sort of stuff.
The one thing I don't watch is the one normal one.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That tracks. You know.
Okay. I was strapped for time on
Now,
this, but
Altered
okay.
Innocence, the boutique label, they released Pals and Congressman both. The other one is, I mean, really
Okay, I just
this episode, Severin Films has released Cannibal Man, which you were able to watch also, which is kind of Iglesia doing.
Cannibal Man
Yeah,
slaps.
it's a weird
I don't
title.
understand
I
the
mean,
slap.
he
It's kind
it's a fun
sure.
title. It promises the cannibal part, and it's not that. It's
It was yeah, because of the name, it ended up on the video
yeah.
nasties list in Britain and was successfully prosecuted, banned for several years, I believe. I think now it's released uncut and all. It's
Hmm.
fine. But it's kind of it's odd. It's an odd duck because again, you're dealing with sexuality in this weird way between these two men. but like I don't know what you're trying to say about it because there's murder involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're hiding these bodies in
And
a
it just
room,
compiles.
but yet this guy's questioning himself and his sexuality. So I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on.
it's a quintessential of like one murder leads to like, okay, now I need to off this person and continue on. So
Keep it quiet. Yeah.
I don't know. We're blessed because Severin puts all this out, and I want a second Quinqui set.
They're wonderful.
Like, that's not too much to ask. There are more within the genre.
It seems that way for
So the
sure.
next Iglesia that's due for release is called The Creature, which I don't know anything about, and I'm excited. Yeah, it's a
What?
yeah.
What? Hang on. Hold the fuck on. I need to look. I need
Okay,
to find
yeah.
this.
Pull up the short description
Is
because
this?
it's great. So when you find it,
Oh, Pals is the one with the nipple on the cover. Got it. Add to watch list. I hate you.
I understand.
I hate it. I hate all of it.
It's possibly the next best thing.
I don't like this. If anyone knows what Mr. Hands is, it's like that but with a dog and a woman. The words tender and erotic are in this synopsis, and I don't like that.
I mean, it's a black Alsatian dog, so that's
Go away.
helpful.
I don't care.
Oh yeah, so this is a
You know
crazy
my
film.
blue stuffed
Huh,
animal's
I'll be
like,
darned.
yeah, you know my blue stuffed animal's like 3 feet away from me, right? Can't. I sell that shit at my job. You know.
Oh, this is implied bestiality stuff too. That's
Yeah, let's just get it. Yeah, let's just say it. Let's quit dancing
Yikes.
around it. It's a woman falling in love with a dog and probably fucking it. Okay? That's what this looks like. And there's political stuff because why not?
I mean, that's
Man, this is really going to make my next pick for next episode look really good. I know. I know. That instills
an
no anxiety
obscure
at
Del
all.
Iglesia. Okay.
Oops. It's not his most
No,
obscure, but it's up. It's
I
fucking up there.
guess.
Yeah. Man, I wonder why that hasn't gotten released, Ryan.
Well, I mean, trying to find a print of that. I mean, it's hats off to
I wonder why.
David and the crew. I mean, they scour the earth.
They'll do
They
it.
find the things that I want to pay
I
full
bet.
retail
I bet they're
for
working
because
hard.
there's no.
No, I pray to God. I hope I do hope I can watch it. I just want to know. But like, I gotta be holding. I mean, if my dog could sit still, I'd be holding him. He's 30 pounds. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm a avid dog lover, but not that kind of dog lover at all. So
I've been on Book Talk before. I've seen some of the wild shit people write about and think is a good idea. Okay. So, you know what? Anything is possible. And this is before the internet, so I've sent you videos. It's fine. I've sent you like videos of like that one girl who's like, "What is this?" Like fan fictions and
yeah, the
shit.
freak
Yeah,
kind of
we've been there.
freakouts to a way.
Where she's just like, she's like, "Someone's making me read this thing," and I'm like, "Yep, that's how it is." So yeah. Anyways, bestiality fan fiction. Boo.
Hopefully the creature doesn't make any of us like curl up in the fetal position.
Why are you calling the dog a creature?
It
It's a
is.
dog.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
dog.
Eloy has his Americanized titles. I would assume. I don't know.
I know, but like it looks like it looks like it's just the Spanish translation of it.
It's a surprise because the Quinqui set came out quite some time ago. So I'm jazzed
It
about
did, yeah.
more Iglesia, and so hell
Right.
yeah. It might be the film you don't know that
Hell
you
yes.
need, but it might help explain the political unrest and strife in Spain that I don't understand fully. So I'll take my education through historical elements of allegory.
Dog fucking.
Oh, I hope not. Oh, I certainly hope not.
It's okay. Also a reminder to get your pets spayed and neutered. So a good reminder. Take your IUDs.
Yeah, the family dynamics are pretty nuts in El Pico because Paco is dealing with his dad being a like hardline military official. And so as a teenager, that's really not a whole lot of fun.
The everyday
What's
struggle.
that?
The everyday struggle of having a military man as
Yeah.
your father.
Yeah.
Okay, the first couple of scenes with the family, they seem semi-normal. Like, the opening in this movie is, like, they're all watching, like, TV, and it's just, like, your average day, it looks like, before, the kids go to school and that sort of thing. Before, you see Paco and his best friend Urko at the school.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
much
they're
like you just are like, oh, you're not thrown off too much, and the dad's getting ready for work kind of deal and putting his gear
no.
on and everything. And yeah, and then it's like,
Wild.
hey, okay, we're gonna meet Paco and Urko. Like obviously their friendship
He's his
is
best
the
friend.
crux of the film, and they just go straight into drug
Yes.
dealing. It's just like right to the drug deal.
They're talking about it, and it's just like, well. But it's not at this of course, because, we're 10 minutes in, it's not bad.
No, no, and it just really seems like it's
Not
like
great, not
marijuana
bad.
related, or
It's
they're
not
not yeah,
heroin.
they're not slinging heroin yet.
We're not there yet. Not heroin. I don't even know if it's coke.
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's
It's not, it's just it's just
hash marijuana kind
teenagers,
of, yeah, sequence of like, here you go, try our free samples. There's more where that came from.
like, trying on hand lotion.
And I mean, quickly, you're sort of like, this is where these kids are going to get any kind of spending money and other stuff from. It's not going to be from working. It's going to be from taking a little off the top
No,
of.
you're not normal. It's not normal.
No.
It's not. No, most of us tend not to get money from drugs.
Yeah, it's.
Unless you work at Starbucks, maybe,
Yeah,
but even
you
then.
pedal the caffeine. It's not as bad.
It's not quite as lethal, perhaps. Anyways.
So Urko, he has like the complete opposite, not opposite upbringing, but his dad
Dad.
is like full on left wing political activist, and he's just and he's in the same kind of conundrum, I think, to an extent of like they both
Yeah.
don't fully approve or grasp what the implications of both of their father's line of work is. Uh, in regard to
Absolutely
that, so
not.
they're like, let's just go find a hangout, snort some drugs, because that's
Yeah. I guess, like, the juxtaposition between, like, the different dads, I guess maybe that's part of, like, why it feels like that's part of why these two are brought together, but it's, like, also made very clear, it's just like, well, we didn't pick our fathers, you know?
yeah. I think it like to me it felt a lot like they were using the kind of the father's political type associations to sort of give some sort of to give a backdrop of Spain and the conflict and the diversity
Yes.
there of opinions as to what's going to move the country forward.
Circa
Yeah,
1933.
yeah.
Because Lord knows we do not know our Spanish history that
No.
well. Unfortunately not. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. The Holocaust was, I don't know, man. The Schlingensief research was easy because it's like, we all know what fucking happened to Germany after World War II. Like, we all know what
I
happened.
think unless somebody really took a great interest to learn this, most American audiences probably wouldn't have a very good context of it. But the film in a way, the
Just
friends
trust
are
me.
sort of the stuck figures, much the way of like a viewer of
Yeah,
going like, how do we make sense of all this? They're
yeah,
really,
for sure.
um, I mean, they're both victims to a certain extent of the environment that they didn't choose and are
Hands down.
sorting
Yeah.
their way out. But from their like peddling weed or whatever, like quickly we go right next into them snorting a powdered substance, which I initially thought was cocaine. It's
Is
not.
it? That's
It's
what I thought
not.
too.
I
What
was
is, like,
optimistic that it was
what
just
is
like,
it? What do
oh,
you think it
they're
is?
dipping into some, booger sugar here. Not the case. Not
What
nose
is that?
candy. It was heroin. And
Oh,
Urko just
yeah.
starts getting sick and throwing up like crazy. And
He
I'm
vomits.
like,
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't the
not
best.
fun. And there's happy disco music. It's a party, and there's happy disco music.
Sold. I'm sold right there. I'm in.
That's the thing. It's like we'll have like it's like you will have like semi-serious scenes, but then there'll just be like that in the background, and you're like, all right. It makes it feel like more of a fever dream than it already is.
Yeah, the degree of the fun factor of like banger songs that are just going, and you're like, this is so fun. And then all of a sudden somebody's just like getting violently ill from the drugs, and
Yeah, and it's like,
oh
"Oh,
damn it, this has
cool."
gone high into the right. This is not how we expected the party
Yeah,
to kind of go. And we're introduced to
it's
Betty,
not
who's
it.
sort of a intermediary figure for the film.
Yeah, we'll call it that. She I think she introduces them to
Yeah.
heroin,
Yeah, and
like
they
heroin.
kind of they give her a
Yeah.
hard time because she works in a massage parlor effectively, or that's what she says at the time. It's not.
Mhm.
It's sex work.
It's not.
That's what it is. So, but
Yeah, that massage is a really light, happy, nice way of putting it, also client
yeah,
specific.
loose term of art. Paco's mom, we discover, is like has brutal ovarian cancer and is just like writhing in pain. So between the like snorting
Yeah,
the heroin to then now mom is very terminally ill and is getting injections, which we assume are opioids of some
they
form.
have they have
Morphine.
morphine
Yeah.
in them. So, that sort of thing. Not good,
Yeah.
just a
Like
kind of
you know where this is
it's kind of a
going.
clusterfuck.
Effective.
It's predictable, sure, but it wraps you in.
Yeah, and I mean, she's like a really sweet person in a film
She's so
there's not a lot
sweet.
of people that are that. So at least we do get like a sanctuary character um
Yeah,
that we know is
actually
supportive.
normal fucking
Yeah.
person. And I should also mention Paco has 2 or 3 sisters, but, like, they're not really
Hmm.
mentioned often. Like, there's, like, a family scene, they're around, but it's nothing, like, serious. It's more about Paco's relationship with his parents, specifically his dad.
Yeah, the father son dynamic is it's a lot
Oh,
to process. So the next thing they hit this rock club, and I've never heard Spanish rock music before, and
me
this is
either.
fantastic. They stroll up into this place, and I was over the moon about this. Like this is great. This
The
is a
vibes
cool
are heavy.
place.
It's good.
And they're just
It's
using it
good.
to sell drugs. Like they're not. I mean, they're not there to
Yeah,
hang
oh,
out. It's just
absolutely.
getting clients. But yeah, it's just really neat stuff. We do get introduced to Michael, who is kind of giving Paco like the eyes and so forth, buys him a drink, and you just sort of assume like he's just trying to sell drugs to this guy, or like what's really the
What's
impetus
going
here?
on?
Yeah, because it doesn't seem that Paco's particularly attracted to him or anything at all.
Paco's cute. I hate saying that, but, like, Jose Luis Manzano's
He's
really
got a
cute.
cool look. I mean, his
It makes you feel bad. I feel bad saying anything like, "Oh yeah, this guy looks good," but it's like, no, he is cute, but it just
yeah. I mean,
oh,
he's stylishly troubled as well. So there's just it's unfortunate that it.
you're all lucky. You're all very lucky that like the promotions for this episode have not been like, "Look at this man," you
Yeah, because
know.
you sell somebody on like he's dreamy looking, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is about the depths of
He's a
yeah,
heroin. He's a
this
heroin
yeah.
addict.
It's,
Who died. Yeah,
so I mean, yeah, they have like
but
a kind of brief conversation, and then as Iglesia does, just these forceful changes. The next thing they're right in bed together. Cut. Yep,
cut.
right in bed, and this is
It's like yeah, it's like cool. I guess they
and
slept
it's the
together.
wake up. It isn't the night of. It's
We're not showing
He
shit,
holds all of it back.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't honestly, after seeing, Confessions of a Congressman, I don't know if I wanna see it again,
Yeah.
but
Inference is a
I
good thing. It's just
yes.
fine.
Yeah. Iglesia any sex thing, Iglesia tends to rely on, inferences. There's a couple scenes where I think there's an exception, but not in this. Everything sexual is kind of hinted at. Although, yeah, you do feel like you get full
That's what I
frontal
was
with
going to mention.
everyone.
Like he's really balanced as far as any use of
He's like,
nudity,
"Oh, yeah, you get to see a dick
but
too.
it's strange
See
because
that." You get to see that uncircumcised cock.
And it's rarely in a sexual context. It's just like people walking around, like they're just doing stuff.
Yeah,
There's
it's like
no
this is just
actually,
there, which like
and I think that makes it kind
it's
of
which is fine.
different.
It's fine. It's not uncomfortable, which is like again odd given the
Oh
subject
yeah.
matter. So there's worse.
So Paco, I mean, he's worried about getting drafted into the Basque army and so forth, and he's walking around Michael's loft effectively, and Michael's an artist of sculpture, paintings, and so forth, and that's
Yeah, has a lot
really
of
neat to have
body.
that within the film and develop his character as far as somebody that's actually kind of creative,
Creative.
yeah, and well, and on their own
Creative.
too, because Paco and presumably Urko both are living with their folks.
I think they're both they're both
Yeah,
at
so
home.
it's a transition into the adult world of sorts that's uh, puts him into a lot of danger pretty quickly. So Michael, it seems, has been through uh, boyfriends or lovers that have had drug issues, and so his push was, of course,
Yes.
like more or less like no doing drugs in the house, etc. To Paco, like you can stay
Right.
here,
Maybe on the more straight and narrow.
but it's a weird relationship in as much as we don't really know why. I guess I never discerned why Paco keeps
Keeps
hanging
hanging
around
around
him.
him. It's
Yeah.
voluntary. There's no other reason for him to really go there.
Yeah, it makes you think.
So
It made me think at least that that it's sort of one part of the film that isn't transactional in nature. That possibly there's just a simple a degree of friendship there. However, Paco does
yeah.
tell him like basically I can't. I could really just never be with you because my orientation doesn't allow for it, and it's just a real.
I don't like
It's
that bullshit.
weird and
When you're like my orient, it's like I slept with you, but my orientation, doesn't allow me
yeah,
to be in a relationship with you. I'm like,
it's some
my
cold
man,
stuff. And I mean,
my man, your dick got hard because of a man.
Paco is just, is it a
Did you
repression? Like,
expect me to
what
say
is going on with Paco?
there is it's my own private Idaho.
It could very well be.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, yeah, their focus isn't on Paco and Michael. Yeah, it's there where it's like, dude, you have to accept it. It's there. But also, there's like a couple scenes with Urko that I'm kind of like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah,
Just keep telling yourself you're straight.
the buddy component with him and Urko, it does make you go, Paco always has to have another person with him in some capacity. And it's always a
Yeah,
male figure. The only
almost always,
person's kind of spared from that to some extent, I guess, is some of the relationship with
his
his
mom.
mom. But these films in general, they don't have a lot of female representation, and we have Betty,
Oh,
and
Betty,
Betty's got a lot of
not
she has a lot going on.
Betty is not a favorable character. She's not
No.
supposed to be.
One funny scene with Paco and Michael is he's asking it specifically of like, do you have louses? Or like as Paco starts, and I was like, he's like, do you have bugs? Because he's going crazy, scratching himself all over the place. And so then he's like,
It's like,
no,
no,
that's just heroin. That's just what we do.
yeah, the
Scratching
heroin makes
itches.
me itchy, and it's just like this is
Yeah,
okay.
you feel bad for Michael.
It's not dry skin.
Yeah, this is.
Like you leave your lotion, like with your parents. What's
They
going on. Actually, don't answer
they
that.
didn't have CeraVe back then, so
They did not in 1980s
no.
Spain.
I mean, we do see Paco, like, I think is one of the first times we visually see like his dad giving his mom the injections. And so that's kind of
Oh, there's so much
there.
needle
Yeah,
stuff in
there really
this.
is.
I hate needles. That's the one thing that has kept me from getting a tattoo. Is like, well, two things. There's my pain tolerance, but like I do not like needles whatsoever. Just makes me very
Yeah.
nervous. There's a lot of needle stuff in
Yeah.
this,
It's like
so
if it
hope you're
doesn't
happy.
like completely scare you, there's a lot to process.
Just know
But there's
that.
also Murphy beds, which are frightening. The beds that fold down from the wall, that I think those are
Eh.
really scary also. But that's just, interior design horrors, really. So Paco's mom is like, you just need more exercise and sun. Everything's going to be okay, you know?
That's what my mom keeps telling my brother. So every 14-year-old needs to know. More sun, more
That's a good
exercise.
tip for all of us.
Yeah, go outside,
Yeah,
touch
commune
grass.
with the sun. It'll do you some good. So Paco's dad wants him to be the
Anyways,
military
continue.
success, like going to the academy and you're going to have a great secure future ahead of you. And instead, of course, it's like, no, this is Paco and Urko cooking up heroin. It's like, this is buddy stuff.
This is good
Yep.
old-fashioned bonding. Just shooting up heroin with
Yep.
your
Getting
best
after the
friend.
horse. And Betty, of course, is like, you guys are idiots doing it that way. She's like, I have better ways to do this. It's like, go for the powdered form. Just, snort it up, yum kind of thing. It's like, oh God.
It's heavy. It
It's as
is
heavy as
heavy.
Betty's leopard print outfit is what I noted down, because
Oh,
that was
oh God, yeah.
yeah. And there's like constant use of the heartbeat cadence pulse. Like that's
Yeah.
a big deal in the score. So it's like whenever you hear a heartbeat or just drum pattern that's close or similar, buckle up.
Buckle up,
Yep.
bitch. It's about to get not fun.
Well, and we finally get to meet
The dealer.
yep.
The dealer.
What's his name, Parker? Do you remember?
El
Coho,
Coho.
that's it.
El Coho. I don't know his like actual. I think they say his name, like his
Yeah.
actual name, but I don't remember it. And he has a pregnant wife named Pilar who's also addicted and is shooting up heroin. She's like, so she's
Mm-hmm.
pregnant. You can
Yeah,
imagine what
and
that goes.
he's really angry about it, of course, because he's just like, you're shooting dope with the
He
baby.
there's a lot of
And
there's domestic stuff with that, but at this point she's just probably she's pregnant, and so like a lot of like the money the boys bring in, is because they know they have their connections to like some political underbelly stuff. They tell alcohol, we're in control of like this addiction. Like we're not going to let it get too out of control. And then like immediately after they like want to shoot it up
and
immediately.
he's significantly
So
older also, so it's like he's an experienced
yeah, he's
dealer.
a middle,
It
yeah,
seems
middle
like
age.
she's like, I just need these
Yeah,
kids to do, to be pushing on the small end of stuff. Yeah,
don't fuck up.
don't get wrapped up. And it's like, oh dude, they're already there. They're already ruined in a
Yeah,
mess.
the ship
Yeah.
is sailed. It's not good. And then Paco turns 18.
Party time. It's like the most innocent
So
scene.
again,
You
it's like
just
just
like,
it's a genuinely like nice, cute little scene. It's like, it's kind of like your last glimpse of having anything close to like an average, happy family.
yeah. And his
You
dad
know,
really ruins it
it's
because
also like
he gets drunk and then starts dressing him up with painting on this really peculiar mustache onto Paco.
yeah.
And he looks really,
Well, I also talk it as like the father like cares a lot about his son. At his heart, he still cares a
yeah.
lot about him, but like he doesn't know quite how to not express it, but like doesn't know how to show it properly, and he doesn't quite get his son, if that makes sense.
Yeah, their communication and just like a showing of feelings is really it's not surface level kind of stuff. So but you do get the impression it's like he really cares a lot, even though he's obviously
Yeah. There's some differences, but he cares. He just doesn't know quite how to get that across to Paco. And then he buys his dad. I think like before that, his dad is like, "All right, for your 18th birthday, son, I'm gonna buy you a prostitute
yep.
because that's
Yeah.
what you do."
That
Um,
he's like, this is gonna help
because
you
that's
out.
what
This is
happens in
gonna
this
be
house.
a good thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But he
yeah.
watches Paco scratching his skin and really he's just worried like, oh, did you get lice from the sex workers? Instead of, the heroin explanation. Because at this point,
Yeah,
that's really kind of all he's got to go off of. It's not, yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, Paco calls up Betty and is like, "Hey, my dad's making me do this thing. You want to just be like you know, you want to just be the prostitute that, you know, my dad pays for, please.
Yeah, he's like
And so
dialing in
she
a friend,
agrees.
you know, like get me through this so that
Yeah,
we can appease him.
phone up a friend, man. I guess they sleep together. Cause like she's kind of like for a moment, she's like, "Are you sure? Like, you want to do it?" Because it's like your dad's paying for it. It feels weird. He's like, "I guess so." And then like it like just slowly zooms in on this needle on the like a
Yeah.
nightstand.
Well,
So
their shared
there's
addiction
some.
component is,
I'm sure. Yes.
yeah. Then we have Paco's dad, who's just, I don't know, his bravado is just outrageous, and I assume that's really just culturally tied into
Yes.
this sense of like a Spanish nationalism kind of component. But
I
and
think
he's just
so.
kind of
Yeah.
holding court with all the rest of the workers in like an ante room and just talking about all of his first experiences and exploits and all that kind of thing, which is fine, of course, until like his service pistol drops out of his jacket. And that's not great
Mm.
for this house of ill
Hmm.
repute because, yeah, the tip off is obviously other people might have a firearm, etc. But the fact that it's out of him and kind of they're not certain of all of his status as far as his career stuff goes. So yeah, quickly they're
Huh.
like, oh,
Very. Yeah. Definitely a
yeah,
mood change. Then Paco comes out and is like stumbly as fuck.
yeah, he's all jacked up and
He's like,
not in a good
yeah,
way.
he's gone. He's gone. And he's like trying to pass it off as like too much to drink. And I'm like, man, you're taking
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
it's a bad look. So I mean, no, Iglesia. Then it's like he jumps into just sequences that where there's a little bit of a lull with Paco's dad just kind of talking about all of his crap or whatever, and then it's goes into basically like a drive-by shooting scenario where you're like,
Yep.
all right, okay,
Okay.
this is not going well, but there's great music.
This isn't
Yeah,
good
he
for
plays
anyone.
happy, intensely positive music over top of high violence visually as far as what's going on. It's the damnedest thing. I
Wild.
find it so fascinating. Only because as not an
I
action
know. It's
film
just,
fan particularly, so this is really doing something
no.
that's much different than music that would just enhance an already intense scene. It's a contrast that Iglesia makes that is unique and so on. So we get back to El Cojo and his pregnant wife. More
Yeah. After Paco appears on the news because he apparently saved his dad's life from that
yeah,
like
that
shooting
was,
incident. That is
I
important.
mean,
That is
he has
important.
redeeming qualities.
And like Urko's watching. And like Urko's watching and he's like, he's so fucking high.
Yeah, Urko's such a
So
mess.
yeah, that kind of does like impact what, you know, goes on with the dealer in the next
Oh,
scene
this is the most. This
because
is one. This
this is
scene
the most this is the worst.
really.
This is the fucking this is the fucking worst. Because yeah, so because of like this new, you know, media attention, Coho's like, hey man, it's gonna be harder to do this, you know? And like I just like he kind of basically tells him I can't sell you things because you're too high profile. It's basically to save his
Yeah,
own ass. But he still like he gives them a little bit and is like, all right, I'm gonna go get some paper for you guys to have it. And then in the meanwhile, I'm assuming this is a few months after the last scene with them because the baby is now born.
yeah,
And and because, you know, the mother was shooting up, you know, the entire pregnancy, the baby's also addicted because that's how it works here. And yeah, like the second that El Cojo steps out of that room, the mom just like grabs his binky, dips it in a little bit of the powder, and sticks it in the baby's mouth to keep it from crying because that's what it's been doing for 5 minutes.
yeah. And Paco and
It's
Urko are
rough.
just standing there, just absolutely stunned
Like
because they're just like, "This is
they're like,
powdered heroin. You just gave this
what?
to a baby. You're an absolute
Like
monster."
an infant,
Yeah,
a toddler, a child. I hate children. I hate kids. I
but
hate babies.
we have a
What
protective
is this?
instinct of
You're like, we
right and
don't do
wrong
this.
core stuff.
You don't do this. It's, yeah, definitely the most shocking thing in this movie by far.
And Coho returns.
I
And
mean, I
when
guess
Coho comes back,
he's like, oh, they finally got to stop crying. He figures out, oh, that's what you did.
yeah, launches into like full on physical attack. Yeah.
Domestic. Yeah, full domestic attack. And then it's just like the two kids are watching. So it's just what I took away from it is like you see like the normal lives that like the both of the politicians' families seem to lead, you know, as their sons are like voluntarily choosing this like very risky lifestyle. And then you see like a family or like a new family who is actually very deeply involved in drug addiction and how that's going for them. And yet they still choose this route. They still continue going down it. So,
yeah, there's a certain amount of almost like a double life factor of what we do see on the surface, and then of course, I mean, Paco and Urko get
what you see is not always true.
Paco and Urko both get, not only are they wrapped up in this, but now they're pretty much upside down. So it's almost a loan sharking kind of component where not only are they not going to get enough drugs for their own habit, financially they're in a mess, and they both just start getting more and more desperate in general.
So Paco starts having some withdrawals in his room, and so he goes to see his mother. His mother?
His mama.
I quit. His mom. His mom. Sorry, guys. Meth is the drug of choice down here. And he goes to see his mom to probably, get a fix of whatever she's having, whatever painkiller she's been prescribed. And, he walks in and he sees that she's in a lot of pain. So he gives her a shot. So, and she's the only one in this movie that kind of gets Paco for like not knowing about his drug addiction, at least at this point. It's like a very heartfelt moment of like she knows he doesn't want to be like his father. She just knows. But he also but then like after that, like Paco goes and steals some of those injections and shoots one up, and then dad comes home and finds out.
And he's honest with like what struck me is that he's completely candid about his problem, where I think the audience instinct was that, he's going to lie about this. It'll come out eventually.
He's like, no, nothing's wrong.
No.
Yeah. Here are the vials. I shot one up. I gave one to her.
Yeah. Yeah. He really just goes like right to like, I'm a giant mess kind of thing, and looking for help in that aspect. So it does. Yeah. It gives a whole other element to where you would expect the father to just be completely unreasonable. And he has moments of that. I mean,
it totally is. Yeah.
And I think it's like Paco probably is maybe trying to just use some connection with the father to get more drugs, because he's like, I'm just going to need more so that I can slowly kind of wean down. And it's really like bad idea after bad idea. He's
not willing to like get him help at this point, or like he's just really upset and like kind of unable to cope, and was just like, I can't believe my son's a drug addict, that sort of thing. The thing he probably fights against quite regularly.
Well, I mean, what threw me is like his dad takes a gun out. It was just like, you're going with me.
Yeah, puts him at gunpoint.
Like, this element completely has now changed, and it's almost inferred that like he was just going to have his son, arrest his own son kind of scenario, or get him help or inpatient or something like that. And Paco just rolls out. He's like, you're not going to shoot me.
Not doing this.
No. Yeah. He's like, you don't have the courage.
Yeah. And and like the mom's like, listen to your father, blah, blah, blah. Cause she's like, kind of just like, she's kind of at a loss. And there is an interesting line I like made sure to write down, because everything in this movie is in Spanish, I should say. So like, I know we normally would like to put audio clips in, but I think as Paco is leaving, he says, "Don't worry, Mom. We all know it's very dangerous to run when the civil guard says to halt, but I'm his son."
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah,
pretty heavy.
there's just a degree of like of central heartbreak in the story that it's coming for
Yeah.
your emotions, and it's funny how really the first portion goes with there's just a fair bit more of like intense scenes, entertaining scenes, and now we're just like, oh God, mom's terminal dying. This is gonna get heavy here.
Yeah. She's only getting worse. I mean, she's
No.
not dead yet, but, only getting worse.
So Paco gets out of he bounces from the house, goes right back to all the old friends, and sees Michael at the bar. And basically, this is kind of his out. The only option he has left
Yeah.
is to either be homeless or stay with Michael. And Michael seems agreeable to
Yeah.
that. Of
Again, voluntarily going to
yeah,
Michael.
yeah. I mean, it probably wasn't the step in the relationship that Michael thought it would just be kind of, oh, okay, now you're definitely going to be staying with me kind of scenario.
But yeah, and like Michael's just like, listen, you have to stay sober when you're here.
Yeah.
None of that bullshit. You have to be sober when you're here. Then we get Dad at work talking to the police and whatnot. I mean, he is the
Yeah.
police. It's a
Yeah.
bizarre
He's
thing
just
to say,
like,
but like
who's the
he is the
detective doing running vice here that we can,
who's the
yeah, we're
narcotics
going to need to
officer?
know.
Who is he? I need help.
Yeah. He's in a pinch, obviously.
Again, all he wants is his son
Yeah.
to come home. Right? But there's not a lot going on. Not a lot going on. Because him and like even like this narcotics officer, they look down quite a bit on even their own informants. So
Yeah.
it's very
Discovering like
interesting.
Coho, and presumably his wife also, they're informants for the police with regard to the drug scene. It then just, I mean,
They
that
are, yes.
really just becomes another degree of kind of conflict that we have. And it's,
But a lot of like of the informants, they can't get anything out of them. And so scenes of those interviews, they're like mixed in with like these scenes of Paco having some really fucking bad withdrawals. It feels like
it
a
is,
fever
yeah.
dream.
The interrogations are like full corporal punishment. I mean, physical assault stuff to
Yeah,
these to
yeah.
to small petty informants, um, to try to figure out who sold these drugs to Paco. It's like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Who's the head dealer out of this situation, and so on. And Paco just absolutely like in the throes of withdrawals and physically destructive. But yeah, he's kind of a mess. Lieutenant Alcantara, who's the primary investigatory agent detective within this, is like, well, out of one person, he gets Juan Ramirez, is a name that they kind of come across. So yeah, I was like, Paco's almost dying at Michael's. It's
Pretty
bad.
much. It's not fun to watch. I know. This is where I put in my notes. So is drug addiction just another form of rape?
It's, like Train Spotting comes to mind,
It's
where
up
it's just
there.
so visceral and unpleasant.
It's
But
so ugh,
it
it's not good. It's like it's what being lightheaded
yeah.
feels like. It's not good.
So it's like they talk
And
to
then
El
like True
Cojo, and
Blood.
they're just like, hey, we know you're wrapped up in all this kind of stuff.
We
Yeah,
know
we
what you
obviously
are.
know what you're doing.
We know
Yeah,
what you are.
it's,
Now talk to me.
I think it just is, for Paco's dad. It's as if he knows all these people exist, but he doesn't interact with them or deal with them in any kind of capacity.
Yeah.
So his official roles are much more clean and tidy paperwork. Most likely, this is not
Yeah.
someone, wrapped up.
He doesn't have to be elbow deep in something like the drug world. But yeah, El Cojo tells them about that's like, yeah, we know Urko. He's also always with this. It's like, yeah, we know Paco. He's always with this friend Urko.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
interesting.
They really don't ever. They have their spats and so forth as well.
Yes,
So yeah, like Alcantara, he's like, let's
so
get
that's
two to
kind of
three guys in civilian clothes to find, just
Pseudo
basically just go
kidnapping.
snatch him up. And Paco's dad's like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what
he's
I was
just
like,
like,
what
oh,
it
secret
is.
police. Well,
And even the dad's
yeah,
like,
he's like, you're not doing
no.
that.
Like, can't we just like question him like a normal fucking person?
Well, then we get Urko's dad, who they get him involved.
Yes.
Yeah, he's really not thrilled about all this mess. But
Well, of
they're
course not. Because your political opponent's like, yeah, your
yeah.
son's a drug addict. You want to know how I know? Because he's been
They
hanging out with
both
my kid,
the
who's
personal
also a drug
implications of
addict.
what the sons are up to and how it affects the fathers is heavy. There's this, you're watching them kind of go through that, and
The 5 stages of grief,
it is,
basically.
yeah. And
It's
Paco's dad
rough.
like wants the answers from Urko's dad, and he's just like, search for your own son and leave your hat at the station.
He's like, I don't fucking know what's
Yeah,
going on. Like, dude, you're the guy who told
there's
me.
not no love lost on those two at all. And it's
Absolutely
like,
not.
I'll deal with my son, but you deal with yours. Not a
Yeah.
teamwork moment.
Again, the thing that all unites us: drug addiction.
It it does. It's a real life thing.
That's the reality.
So
It's like, damn, I know some people we could show this
I
to.
mean, he starts telling like Michael, like, oh, my mom's really ill and she's like about to die and whatnot, because presumably it's like he knows there's not going to be many more moments. And similarly, I'm sure the father has been sober with Paco about
Yes.
her physical state.
As you can. I mean, you have to be. Yeah. I think the dad finds Michael in like a bar or some shit and is like, I don't know how they get to talking. I think it's like they're hanging around like a park or something. The sculptor just kind of looks at him and is like, do you need help? Like, what's going on? After some talking, Michael's like, yeah, your son's clean. He's fine. He's kind of not stressed because he's not at
Mm-hmm.
home. The dad's just kind of like, well, if you can pass along the message that his mother's about to die, would you do that? And it's like, okay.
It was just really a simple like human gesture.
Yeah.
And Paco knows that everything is going to be short lived with Michael. This is not
This is
not going to
absolutely not long
last
term.
kind of thing.
It can't.
And there's a moment like specifically that I thought really highly of where Paco borrows a umbrella from Michael and says that and Michael's
Yeah.
like, basically, I want the umbrella back when you're done. And just knowing
Mm-hmm.
this is the last,
No.
probably the last
Probably the
time to
last
see
time they're
him.
going to see each other. So yeah, after that bit, Paco does come home. He sees his mother. Very emotional. I think she does pass
Mm-hmm.
away after it. So it's not good. This is not a happy movie. Why did you think? How did you confuse this with Navajeros? How did you?
It's Navajeros is like the wishful thinking, and then there's just the cold reality of El Pico.
This does not answer my question.
So like the funeral procession, it's bleak. You're just like, this is emotionally crushing. And as Iglesia does, he's like, next scene, carnival circus, party time. Let's go. Paco Urco party.
As we should.
And protests and fireworks. You're just like, this is insane how he can really take 1 degree of tragedy, lure you into it, and then just explode the other direction.
It's a fat middle
Yeah, I think
finger.
so.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it
like
is.
I do. I enjoy its certain oppositional nature, and yeah.
You're just like, fuck all of you. Yeah, Ryan really said, fuck all of you. I'm going to make all of you listening to this podcast. I'm trying to find it.
Did you want a Disney film? Here's El Pico.
No!
Marvel, anyone? El Pico.
I thought you were extremely uneducated in the ways of Disney.
There is a truth to that. I have
You were
I'd
neglected as
never,
a child, we
I
know.
don't think so. I think I was probably indulged as an only child, overindulged, to be fair. But never yet, I never got to see Disney films. That was not allowed.
Oh, for
Yeah.
shame.
Whereas not
Not
allowed at all. No
allowed!
depiction of depiction
What?
generally
You mean
depiction
no?
of women in a nefarious or negative light. That was not happening. However, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that was totally just
Totally fine.
that was a-okay.
Yo, Maleficent's a
So,
bad bitch.
well,
How dare you?
I believe you're probably right on that.
We'll
That's
have a
exactly.
discussion.
So
It's like, no, the only time me and Ryan see each other is like I just have to row him in and we just Clockwork Orange style make him watch Disney movies. It's the
it
only
wouldn't
time we
happen.
meet up.
You would always choose Batman animation, I
Well,
think.
that too. I love. Shut up. Who doesn't love
Well,
Batman? I'd take a piss for that.
I'll have to see it to believe it. So we shall see. So old buddy Paco Urco, they're like, let's meet up with Betty and let's go to the nudie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
They're
will be
like,
great.
I was like, nude drug induced frolic, and then let's start shooting drugs again because, well, we got to bring the music back, and there's just no going back. So.
Oh yeah, you get to like see like okay, it's like the first like yeah I guess they have a threesome, sure, right? And then after it cuts to like the two boys fucking around in the shower, and you're like, all right, no straight man would put this in a movie without it
No,
meaning something.
Iglesia really seems quite
No one puts
comfortable
this
with
anyway.
any of these selections of scenes.
I'm just like again, I like had to ask myself. I was like, how old is Urko's actor?
Yeah, we
How
both
old is
had that a
he?
couple times
Because
where
I'm
we're like, this
concerned.
could not be distributed.
This
The
isn't
math is
lit.
okay, but the impression is
It's like yeah, it
bit,
has to be like
yeah.
19 ballpark, like
Yeah, as far as
19,
actual age,
20,
yeah.
maybe 18.
The inferred age
Actually,
is
but like the
where Iglesia
ugh. Well, Paco's an adult, but it's like I guess now technically an adult, but
yeah, I
it's
mean,
weird.
they're all jacked up on heroin. It's kind of
It's weird.
a degree of
Yeah, they're
theme
back.
of
Yeah, they're
that,
back. Yeah, we're
but
back.
they do finally have a fight. Like you
Yeah,
knew
because
Urko and Paco eventually this is gonna blow up. The paranoia, etc.
yeah,
And Paco's naturally like, you're holding out on me, you're not giving me all the, all the basically whatever would be his fair share to deal and peddle and so forth. So yeah, they start just
yes,
having a
they
throw
start fighting over
outdoors,
the
like sun's shining, grassy atmosphere. Yeah.
wrestling in the grass, fully clothed. But then, like after that, they make sure neither of them are hurt, and then they're like, "Oh, we lost the drugs in the grass because we were so
Yeah.
focused on it."
Yeah. The kind of bumbling
Huh?
idiot factor. And I mean, Urko almost thinks it's funny and ironic and pathetic. Paco,
Yeah.
he's not at all. He's at the end of the desperation. So next thing, robbery. Naturally, you're just like, Paco's like, I know where we can get some guns at.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Paco, they're running away again. And Paco steals one of his dad's guns. So yeah, they go back to the dealer's house and they rob the couple at gunpoint. So that's not fine. Ugh, yeah, I don't remember how everything in this exchange goes, but I know basically the husband and wife are shot and the baby starts fucking crying
Yeah, I
again.
mean the scuffle occurs
But again,
between Paco and Coho, and Coho's able to kind
yes.
of knock the gun away from him a bit, but yeah,
Yeah. Urko knows the connections that the couple has with the National Guard. So he picks up the gun and shoots them,
yeah,
if I recall.
Urko just right into the point blank double murder, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yup. Because
this is
it's like, all
it's gone
right,
from bad to worse.
if that's the way you want it.
Yeah, and we cut back, like
So
Alcantara starts talking about he knows the murder of these informants. Like this isn't, yeah,
he knows about it. Yeah,
there's
they find
and it's
out.
not a random act. So whoever did something to that degree personally obviously has a,
Then they say that the bullets or match those that are used by the
yeah,
guard.
which they do.
They do say
Yeah,
that, so it's like it's kind of like Hey,
Yeah,
buddy, what's your
they
kid
know what's
doing?
up.
You know, how are those father
Yeah,
son dynamics
yeah.
going? Like, are you
Gun
parenting?
safes, people use them. That's all.
Yeah, gun safes.
They
Yeah,
work. They're effective.
God, I, guys, I live in the South. I know what a gun safe is, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, his dad doesn't have a whole lot of, yeah, it's hard to say if he really needs that at his house and whatnot, but obviously they knew where to retrieve it, so
We can talk
that's like,
about that
okay.
later.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
pistol, right? Like it's not like this massive machine gun or some shit. It's like it's a pistol. So it's like I mean I can kind of understand why you would have that in the house. But like not locked up?
Yeah.
Weird.
Strange practices. I mean, paranoid people gun next to the bed kind of stuff. Not a good safety
So
practice.
yeah. Yeah. Cut to Urko's dad at a meeting with the rest of his party or whatever. And he gets a call from, the dad from, Paco's dad. And it's just like, hey, we gotta talk. I think the boys have been implicated in something pretty serious. And so yeah, Urko even Urko's dad is just like, I might have to resign from like whatever position he's holding. I think he's like the head of like a
Mm-hmm.
political party, Congress representative, something,
Yeah, I think it's
right?
I,
I don't
I
know the
want to say that it
dynamics
was
of everything.
like a socialist type party of sorts
Yeah,
along those lines, and so yeah, he's concerned about his campaign because you get your son wrapped up in a double murder. This
of
is not going to
course.
really help help
Yeah,
help his election go smoothly. So you know,
yeah. Cut to the boys having been on a 4 day streak of just shooting up, and there's happy
yeah,
music in the background
music is
because of course.
yeah, they're just having a
So
blast,
that's
even though it's a even though
sure.
it's out of like it's the contrast of like the desperation and all that. So now it's the yeah, they go on a
Holy
bender
shit.
for sure.
It is not good. But yeah, Urgo gets like this final shot. And it's just very like that whole it's very drawn out. I mean, it's like an orgasm.
With disco music.
And he, yeah, and he dies. And then he
And then that's
dies.
yeah, yep. The height of the party is
Yeah.
everything's
So
okay
that,
to an extent.
yeah, and
No,
it's like
Urko's turning blue. He overdoses, dies in a chair.
he's fucking
Yep,
blue and cold. And Paco's just been staring out the window the whole time. And then Betty's like, what is this?
yep.
And Urko's dead. And it's just like bing bang boom. It's hard to believe this is 100 minutes. It's like sometimes it's like when it
Well,
picks up like nothing.
one thing too that was so fun is like while Urko's in the process of it's not in the process of dying, like before he has passed away, they go to these, they show all these posters on the wall of like Laurel and Hardy and Freddie Mercury, Marilyn
They
Monroe.
do, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
like we're going
What's
full
going?
pop star kind of stuff to an extent, and then yeah, the reviving of Urko does not go well. So they try, but
What real world connections are we trying to
uh,
make, Iglesia?
it's I mean, Betty's just the only kind of one that's a little bit with it enough to realize like this is the
So
gravity of the situation.
incredible, in
All on a
fucking
rainy night,
incredible.
and Paco like grabs the gun,
Yeah,
time for a walk, and process everything, and then they cut to the
yeah.
morgue sequence with Urko. It's a
It's
little
not
yeah,
fun. His family's looking over the body, and then the captain, enters and is like, "I want to talk to the dad." And so they talk, and they're just like, they know it's going to be
yeah.
scandalous no matter how it gets out. It's just like, oh my god.
And they have a degree of choice of what they're gonna what's gonna happen forward,
They're civilized about
but
it.
I think they both realize this is well out of both of their hands, and kind of obscuring anything is going to be, you know, pretty pretty useless to do. And the father has his own issues that he's just kind of like, if I'm not here and you're not here and everything, like, well, it's, yeah, kind of fatalistic to a point. And Paco and his dad drive to this hillside, and it's beautiful. It overlooks the ocean, and the dad discovers,
Yeah.
2 bullets are missing out of his out of the gun.
Out of the gun. And he's like, all right, buddy. So after for a brief moment, he puts the gun to Paco's head.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you could kill. And it's like, there's enough bullets in this for me to kill you and for me to kill myself. But then Paco's like, I would rather do that than jail time. So, and then yeah, after like I think Paco gives him, this like quite large bag of drugs, white powder, which I hope was like just sugar in the prof department.
Oh yeah.
I really hope. Especially for that baby scene, I really hope that was sugar. Yeah. And so the dad's like, all right, look, I have the loot and the murder weapon. There's plenty here to convict you. He just fucking throws it into the ocean.
Yeah, it's unexpected. Because
like, what?
Moments previous, he's discussing like how is he going to even reclaim like any sense of honor or dignity out of all of this?
He just like looks at all the things and is like, this can destroy a life. And then like Paco replies, you mean the powder or the hat? And it's like, oh shit.
It's a kind of a high indictment for Paco.
High stress situation. But no, he throws all that stuff into the ocean and they walk back to the car and there's more happy music. And then you just see the hat floating away in the ocean.
They have a nice big hug. And it's like, happy ending. You're welcome. You're welcome. Guns and drugs in the ocean. Hugs and loves for Paco and his dad. Priceless, really.
Why do I keep saying this sort of thing? Why do I keep signing off?
Thank you, Mr. Iglesia. Also watch Navigados. It's a banger. Film.
It is a banger.
We're not going to do an episode on it.
Good, very good.
Watch it on your own time. Enjoy yourself.
Not at the moment, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, Seven released it. You can probably find it various places. Yeah. Also, El Pico has a sequel that Iglesias directed. It was released a year after. Not going to talk about it, but I know there are some people who like it better than this, better than the first one. It's a different vibe, but Paco's in prison in that and is like in recovery, and there's just a lot of interesting stuff.
El Pico too, it has a it's just as brash in moments, but there's also there's just kind of a indulgence in bleak outcomes and really intense graphic sequences. Not horror particularly in that regard or anything like that. Just oh my, how are we going to process all this? So
it's very strange. For the record, they're not on there anymore, but these two were on Shudder for some time, which is so bizarre.
Great. I was so excited to see that because like, the exposure of like the Shudder audience isn't always as far out as art house or somewhat obscure Spanish films within a style genre like the Quinqui stuff, and I was like, this is amazing, this is great. So it may come back to Shudder at some point. The Severin set is still really great. It's a good buy. Yes. There's great prices on it. There's sales all the time in different places, so definitely one to pick up. It's El Pico 1 and 2 plus Navigados, and that's really the gist of I think what folks would really enjoy. The other director is Jose Antonio de la Loma, who did Street Warriors 1 and 2. Yo El Vaquia is another title that does fit into this genre. Those play out much more with the juvenile delinquency components and some of the political aspects. At times, they're much closer to toward an action film, procedural in some sense. So they don't have the special extra that I think Iglesia dives into different styles and topical matters because, yeah, they're a lot to go through in a way.
You just have to be mentally prepared, like for
The
everything.
one I'm on the hunt for is called The Latest Scams of El Torrete. I was like, I'm like, The Latest
What?
Scams of El Torrete. I was like, that's a hell of a title. I don't even
That
know. I
doesn't
have
sound.
no context as to what it's about. If I can't even find subtitles, that's just fine too.
We're gonna be yeah. Oh, yeah. I love when, like, I have to when I find random shit and, like, there's no subtitles or, like, very bad auto-generated subtitles.
Yeah, it's the auto generated stuff.
It's my favorite.
Sometimes you can kind of get away with.
It's fine, but sometimes
Well,
it's
and
hard
the
to keep up.
laughter for when it's so drastically incorrect, and then you start laughing when it's a poignant, sad
Someone's
scene.
like
That always,
there's, like, a sad scene, and then there's, like there will be, like, rain or something in the background, and then, like, the subtitles will just pop up as
yeah,
applause.
yeah,
It's like someone's, like, dead, but
yeah. When it starts like
weird.
the banana is in the storage container, it's like this is not part of the film at all. This is yeah. So
I beg your
exactly.
fucking pardon?
Oh. I don't know if we can condone autogen.
We don't like
No.
bananas
Well,
either. We know
the other
that.
thing was they
We
drank
didn't
milk like a psychopath in this film. I just wanted to mention that like Paco, there's a sequence where he's drinking milk and in the midst of the heroin binge, and I think that's
shit.
frightening. I mean, the drug stuff is frightening too, but that sweaty glass of milk amidst this,
You've never had a glass of milk in your life, I bet.
I'm not consenting probably.
You were what are you were not raised
I
correctly.
mean, milk. We don't need milk for
Okay.
survival. This is not, this is not necessary. I'm
That's
all for the
on you.
I'm all for
That's
the
on you.
cheese, but
I am redneck enough that sometimes I will get a craving for milk, and I know that sounds
that's because
terrible,
you are
but it's
terrible.
true. Thank you. What do you mean non-consenting? You
I don't want to talk about it.
cut the fucking cameras. What?
I have dairy issues, okay? Not with cheese either, because cheese is a holy thing.
It's selective. It's now selective. Yeah, lactose intolerance is a choice in the society. I
They're speaking
agree.
on my behalf.
You're so lucky the cat doesn't like just come up here and just begin
I don't even know which one it
screaming.
is. I think it's, yeah, that's Hannah.
How dare you not know the
No,
sound of
well,
your
I
own
have
dog's
I have
barks?
headphones on.
I'll know the difference.
All right, let's take a short
How dare
break and
you?
we'll come back with our top picks.
Okay, we'll talk
Top
about favorites
picks.
and
My picks this go round. I rented Prague Nights. It's a Czechoslovakian film that Deaf Crocodile put out on Blu-ray, but it hit YouTube for rental, and yeah, it's a
oh,
kind of a two-part, two separate storylines. Deals with kind of a surrealistic environment. I don't really want to talk too much on the plot so much, just because there's just a lot there and spoiler kind of component, but it's one that Czechoslovakian film in general from 70s time period is completely foreign to me. And we, yeah, have our friend Jessica who does kind of oftentimes share stills or clips on her Instagram. And I think I probably might have discovered it through her to then go,
probably.
okay, this is Deaf Crocodile. It tracks with a lot of their films in general. But yeah, $1.99 blew my mind. Watched it with our buddy Matt, and had a great time yesterday
As
with
you do.
that title. The next film that I saw recently that it had been haunting me for so many years was the Powell and Pressburger film, The Red Shoes. And as a sucker for musicals, The Red Shoes,
Ah,
man, it has a huge like reputation following, maybe one of the best films
yes, it
ever
does.
made, and even like one of the best British films ever made. So I finally just said, kind of, enough putting this off. I really need to see this. Kate Bush reasons, of course, kind of helped too.
Well,
So
yeah, Kate Bush. Kate Bush should be the reason for
it's true.
everything, as far as I'm
She
concerned.
helps every cause, and and really every other kind of discovery as well, because I'll never understand her fully, and that's okay.
No
Nobody
one will, but
nobody
who cares?
should. So yeah, so The Red Shoes completely blew me away. It's a 6-star film on a 5-star rating. Perfect, really a perfect film. Yeah, very fortunate that it exists, and we get to enjoy it. The last pick I had was, there's actually a small movement of neo Quinqui films. Yeah.
What?
So we're going modern, 2016. The film is called Criando
Oh boy.
Ratas, directed by Carlos Salado, and it is everything you kind of come to expect from the early genre, but updated, and like a really loving homage to that genre. There's not a lot of them, and I suspect most of them were pretty terrible, much like the Italian giallo. You do not want neo jolly most of the time. If somebody's telling you that, it's not their fault. They just don't know better.
It's a trend.
Yeah, yeah. It
Giallo,
it's
it's a trend.
it just
It
becomes, certain
was.
things become a thing for a bit, and then it just really goes back to what folks enjoy. But yeah, nothing wrong with new films being new, but having elements of other
Of course
things.
not.
It's Everything is derivative in one way or another to an extent. But yeah, this Criando Rotas is neo Quinqui. I was like, all right, let's it's on YouTube. So I think it's
Okay. I don't know
uh,
Keanu Reeves is into that, but okay.
hey,
Come on.
somebody just got a physical copy of My Own Private Idaho, so
Yeah, literally just did.
there won't be a scratch on that, and it'll be handled with respect.
Will not be elaborating further. Although, if we don't have an episode on that, consider yourselves lucky.
There's always room for it. That could happen. So,
I know.
all right, Parker, what do you have for us this go around? What are some recent
Okay,
things you've watched?
they're all gay. They're all gay because it was June. So give me a pass. The first one was something you introduced me to, and that I showed to friends fairly recently. It's called Shit in Champagne, and it's just it's a parody slash love letter to John Waters' 70s underground cinema. It's a 90-minute RuPaul's Drag Race acting challenge without television censorship, which it helps because one of the queens that won an all-star season of Drag Race Alaska does make a cameo in it. So, that was exciting for me. But it's this perfect mix of fun, disgusting, and, self-awareness that I had a lot of fun with and that I'm very happy I showed my friends. So, the second one is another one that I showed for a movie night, a bit more serious. And it's called A Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I believe this is based off of a book. I'm not entirely sure, and if so, I have not read said book. But it is a period piece about two women. One of them is soon to be married and asks the other woman to paint a portrait of her. Um, every shot in this looks like it could be an 18th, 19th century painting. It is perfect. There's a lot of subtlety, but like just enough that like at the end you will be bawling. And also it seems fairly historically accurate. It didn't feel like there were any stretches, although I'm sure a history buff could correct me on that if they wished. And then finally, this one's a bit further back in my diary, but it's 1961's
Yay.
Victim.
Yay.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you everyone for introducing me to Dirk Bogarde. Now I'm gonna have to go find everything he's in. I mean, what do I say about this? It like I will admit it, I was a little zoned out like the first half, but then like once I got what was I think the reveal that, Melville Farr is like, it's just was closeted and his motivations and whatnot. That's where it started getting to me. So I understand it's a very historically important film, but I said it's not a sad movie. It's just very emotional, and I think
Yeah,
everyone
it's
should
a
watch it.
perfect introduction to
So
Dirk
those are
Bogarde.
my picks.
He's such a vast
Yes, it
actor.
is.
Watching him in his post
He's
TV
wonderful.
appearances into really proper film acting and so forth, his role in The Victim is really superb, and I think it makes a fan of anyone.
Yes, he's in
He
The
is.
Damned, right? I have to strap myself in for that because I know that's like 2 or 3 hours, which is
Yeah,
some.
the Damned is a Visconti film,
So
and it is long. I always sell it to people as kind of the Godfather with Nazis in German industrialism. So if you want, yeah, it's like when
okay, I'll take it.
you look at your coffee pot and
Hey,
you see the name on various products. Well,
hey, I saw
hey,
Helmut Berger.
that's
I
a
know.
buy-in right there.
Hey, I watched one of his. I watched a certain movie of his for Exploitation, and I feel bad.
Yeah, I always equate your Udo Kier and Helmut Berger together. Like they've never been seen together, perhaps, but boy, do they share a lot of the same space
I don't like them.
cinematically with challenging films they've been in.
I think I've sent you a picture of the two of them together.
I think I don't really
I'll
believe in
send it
AI
again.
though. In that,
Oh,
I'm
fuck
kidding.
off!
No, I'm sure they've crossed.
I don't want to.
They,
I call bullshit on so many
I'd
levels.
like them to be besties. They'd be
So
great
many.
friends together, but they'd be
I think they would
explosive.
be besties. I think if they weren't besties, they absolutely would be. Although Helmut's
Yeah.
dead and Udo's not. So, I think our next episode, that as a most recently released, will probably be our June
Yes.
exploitation wrap up.
Yes.
That will probably be a long fucking episode
Yeah,
because the two of us like to
we're
talk.
covering a lot of films. We're going to try to keep it to gonna talk
Yes.
about the category of the day and the film selections that we had, and
We had we don't have a there's only one overlap.
yeah,
Like one or two
they
overlap
were really
points.
majority all
So
new views. Yeah,
they're all new for
I
me.
included
They were
City of
all new
Lost
for me.
Souls
So
because I really did love that movie.
you're a loser and you
I
win and
had
you
to.
pass.
You got to give yourself an out. You just can't.
You
True,
watched it during the
true.
month, so it's okay. I'm like, I don't. It's like I get it. It's like I get it. Me, I'm like, nah. I got a 30+ hour
Well, you
work
went a
week. I'm
little
gonna make it
hardcore with the
work.
new views, which is really good because a lot of folks with Gene exploitation, it just often
Yes.
can become a old favorites.
I
Yeah,
don't want rewatches. I want to find new stuff. I'm gonna become attached at the hip
yeah.
to.
We have you have the rest of the entire year to rewatch stuff. So
Yes.
bring out the original, bring
Exactly.
out the rare good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also like that for Horror Goes Back,
Oh, I
which I
can't
will be
wait.
an October thing.
I'm already
Oh,
stressed
I'm so
and
looking forward to
prepping
it.
and planning those selections.
Love you, Erica. Love you, Lance. I ordered the book. I finally ordered the book.
The
It only
sweetest
took me two
taboo.
months. Yes, it only took me 2 months and a paycheck,
Be
but I
glad that
fucking
you
did it.
have it because that's not going to be in print forever. I hope there's a
Yes,
repressing and another second round, but
I
it's a
hope
lot of work that
so.
went into that.
I hope so. Erica's
Yeah.
listening to this and is like, shut up.
People
Shut
let
up.
me
I put enough
sleep
work
and
into
leave me
that.
alone for a little while.
She needs to sleep. It's okay. She needs to sleep. She works hard and she's incredible.
Agreed.
So for the episode after that, I thought, okay, there's a thing I rewatched when again I was still fairly green. Wasn't as shocked, but I knew this is out there and I didn't know a lot about the director. And I know you love another film by this particular
I
director. Do
completely
you think you know
don't.
who I'm talking
I mean,
about?
this is now I'm peaked.
All right.
What are we? What are you unfurling?
So it's a
Oh
Parab chick.
my.
And I know you love The Margin.
It's a very special film.
And yes, I'm not saying we should cover that.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, maybe right after this episode. I don't care.
Exactly.
That's your call. But I was thinking The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Miss Osborne.
That sounds
for
perfect.
Our next episode. But yeah, dude, who care? I don't care.
All Boro is
don't
good
give a
Boro,
shit
so it's on the menu.
Exactly. Shockingly enough, before anyone gets to the end of this episode, I know I had a lot of friends who, like, I sent them the link for City of Lost Souls, and they were like, I haven't listened to the episode yet because I haven't watched the movie because he sent it to me, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm like, do I need to force you all to watch it? Dr. Jekyll and Miss Osborne is also on YouTube. Let me check, but like last I checked, it was still fucking there, which is wild considering what's in it. Because both of us know how Borowczyk can be.
YouTube is like Spotify. Mostly anything that gets uploaded to it stays for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The full 90 minutes is there. So I guess I'll be sending that to people.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's so good, but it's also if you don't want to hunt it down, it is on Arrow, and I'm sure I think they did the physical as well several years ago.
Yeah, Arrow Player, incredible for anybody that doesn't have that. I kind of want to look into it. I think it's $6 a month, and it's insane the amount of physical release films that they put on there. It's just nuts. It's a huge value for money, in my opinion.
It really is. Like, you don't always get that with streaming services, but theirs is, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing a good job. So that'll be next episode. I'm sure it's a good excuse for me to watch other Borowczyk. I know he has a lot out there, so I'm gonna have to try to limit myself and not completely drown.
Yeah, much like Iglesia with the dog, the Beast or La Bête. Well,
yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier. The Beast, I know of it. I know of the sorts of shenanigans.
Horses, really?
Horses, yes, horses.
It happens, I guess, and that's part of it.
I'm so glad we know what that animal is.
Beautifully shot. No complaints. Cinematography, like with regard to portrait that you mentioned in your pick, that's a stunning example of a modern film that has all the moves.
It's perfect. I think it's perfect. Yes, I watched it for Criterion earlier this year. Why do you ask? But it is a perfect movie, objectively. And I will not be taking complaints at this time. But yeah, we're going to be doing Dr. Jekyll and Miss Osborne next episode. Hopefully that'll be out within the month of July and that we won't get completely swamped. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Where Is My Mind Podcast. You can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram at parkit_BE. You can find Ryan on Letterboxd and Instagram as at Ryan_BMD. I'm like slowly starting to write for a local film club, and I'm slowly pushing those articles.
They are going to be a blast.
I am looking forward to it. I wish I could go to screenings, but I think for the next screening that they're having, I'm going to try to travel and to just stay with a friend. But until next time, we'll see you guys. Thank you for listening.
Take care. Bye-bye.